The silence in this house is a physical thing. It has weight. It presses against the windows and settles deep in my bones. I run my fingers over the cold, smooth marble of my kitchen island, a surface I once dreamed of rolling dough on with my granddaughter. Today, it only reflects the overhead lights, empty and sterile. I have a bank statement in my hand that shows more zeros than I ever thought possible, and all I can think is that I would give every single digit back just to hear her call me Mom one more time and mean it. It wasn't always like this. For most of my life, money was a constant, quiet worry. My husband, Anil, and I built a modest life. He was an engineer, I was a teacher. Our home was small, but it was filled with the warmth of shared dreams and our daughter, Priya's, laughter. We saved for years for her education, sacrificing little luxuries so she could have a future without the shadow of debt. Our greatest pride was watching her grow into a bright, ambitious woman. When Anil passed away 5 years ago, a part of me went with him. The silence started then, but Priya filled it with her weekly visits, her phone calls. We grieved together. Then the unexpected happened. A piece of land my grandfather had left me, which we'd always thought was worthless, was acquired by a large developer. The compensation was life-changing. Overnight, I was wealthy. The first thing I did was pay off Priya's student loans. Then I bought this new, spacious apartment. It was supposed to be a fresh start, a beautiful container for a new chapter. Priya was thrilled for me, or so I thought. The first sign, a small crack in our foundation, was her boyfriend, Rohan. He was from a wealthy family himself, polished and confident. I remember the first dinner they had here, in this new apartment. Priya was nervous, her eyes darting around, taking in every detail. "Does it look sophisticated enough, Mom?" she'd whispered. I'd laughed it off. Later, Rohan remarked on the art I'd chosen. "An interesting piece," he'd said, in a tone that implied it was anything but. Priya's had quickly agreed. "We can always get something more modern." I felt a small, cold knot form in my stomach. We. The betrayal didn't come with shouting. It came with a legal document. It was a Sunday. Priya had come over, unusually affectionate. She made me tea, asked about my health. "You know, Mom," she said, her voice light, "with all this money, you should really think about the future, about protecting your assets." She talked about estate planning, about wills being messy. She mentioned a friend who was a fantastic financial advisor. His firm could help you manage everything. It would be so much easier for you, less stress. I was touched by her concern. A week later, I sat in a plush office with her and her friend, a man named Mr. Kapoor. Papers were placed in front of me. The language was dense, full of legalese. "It's just a standard power of attorney," Priya explained softly, her hand on mine. "So I can help you if you ever get sick, like I did with Dad. It's for your own good." Her eyes were so earnest. I thought of Anil, of how she'd been our rock. I trusted her. I signed. The turning point came a month later. I wanted to make a large donation to the school where I used to teach, to set up a scholarship in Anil's name. When I called the bank, I was told there was a hold on large transactions, a hold I hadn't authorized. My heart began to pound. I called Mr. Kapoor's office, only to be informed that all inquiries regarding my portfolio had to go through my designated attorney in fact, my daughter, Priya. When I confronted her, her demeanor changed entirely. The caring daughter was gone, replaced by a stranger with cool, practical eyes. "The donation is a reckless financial decision, Mother," she said, her voice firm. "Mr. Kapoor and I are restructuring the assets for better growth. You're too emotional with money." I felt the walls of my beautiful new apartment close in on me. She was telling me about being emotional with money, the woman who scrimped and saved every rupee or her future. The incidents began to escalate. My credit card, linked to the main account, was declined at the grocery store. I stood there, humiliated, surrounded by strangers as I fumbled with my phone to call Priya. "It's for your security," she said calmly. "There's so much fraud targeting seniors. I'll transfer a monthly allowance to your personal account. It's more than enough for your needs." An allowance. For me. The woman who once budgeted every rupee for her piano lessons. The loneliness was the worst. She stopped visiting. My calls went to voicemail. When I did see her at a family wedding, she was draped in a new, expensive sari, standing with Rohan and his family. She introduced me to his relatives as her sweet mother who lives a very quiet life. She didn't look me in the eye. I was no longer her mother. I was a potential embarrassment, a simple woman who didn't fit her new, polished narrative. I went home that night and looked at the reflection in the dark window. I didn't recognize the lonely, powerless woman staring back. I felt like a ghost in my own life. One afternoon, desperate for a connection to the past, I dragged an old suitcase from under my bed. It was filled with Anil's things I couldn't bear to part with. I pulled out one of his old sweaters, the wool still faintly smelling of him, and buried my face in it. As I did, my fingers brushed against a small, hard-covered notebook at the bottom of the case. It was his personal diary, one I never knew he kept. My hands trembled as I opened it. It wasn't filled with profound secrets, but with small, beautiful mundanities. Priya got an A on her science project. Her smile today was everything. Made chai with Leela this morning. The simplest moments are the best. And then I found an entry from just a few months before he passed. Spoke with Priya about her career plans. She is so driven. I worry she equates money with success and security too much. I told her, the most valuable inheritance your mother and I can leave you is not money, but our values. I hope she understood. I read that line over and over. The most valuable inheritance is not money, but our values. In that moment, the power balance in my mind shifted completely. This wasn't just about greed. It was about a value system that had been fractured. And I realized I had the power and the responsibility to restore it. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I placed the diary gently on my bedside table, a new calm settling over me. Anil had given me my resolve. The next day, I went to the library and used a public computer. I didn't trust my own devices anymore. I researched, I found a senior legal aid service, and made a discreet appointment. My lawyer, Mrs. Deshpande, was a sharp, kind woman in her 60s. I showed her the power of attorney document. Her lips tightened into a thin line. "This is predatory," she said softly. "We can revoke this, but we need to be smart." Quietly, strategically, we began to work. I opened a new bank account with a small amount of cash I kept at home. I gathered every financial document I could find, every bank statement, every property deed, creating a secret file. Mrs. Deshpande helped me formally revoke the power of attorney and file a report with the bank citing undue influence. We documented everything. It wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming what was mine: my autonomy, my dignity, my voice. The confrontation happened in Mrs. Deshpande's office. We had asked Priya to come, stating it was for a financial review. She walked in, confident, dressed in a business suit. She froze when she saw me sitting there with Mrs. Deshpande. "What is this, Mom?" she asked, her voice tight. Mrs. Deshpande spoke calmly. "Your mother has revoked the power of attorney you held. All account freezes have been lifted. The assets are back under her sole control." Priya's face went pale, then flushed with anger. She turned to me. "How could you? After everything I've done to secure your future,
You have no idea how to handle this kind of wealth. You're going to lose it all." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. I saw the fear behind the anger. I spoke quietly, my voice steady. "Priya, this was never just about the money. This was about you deciding I was no longer capable. This was about you being ashamed of the simple life your father and I gave you. You didn't secure my future. You stole my present." The truth of my words hung in the air. The fight seemed to drain out of her. She looked from me to the stoic lawyer and back again, realizing her control was gone. Without another word, she picked up her bag and walked out. The door clicked shut, a sound more final than any slam. The legal battle was over, but the